A lot of you have asked me what my specs are, how I would like to upgrade, and mostly if I'd ever do a setup video. I never really wanted to do one because I was afraid of it becoming irrelevant down the road, but I figured, what the heck? It would be fun. So let's jump right into it. I want to apologize right now for the poor video quality though. I don't really have a very nice camera. Now my room is quite small and the build has its own corner, which is fine because without my PC, I'd probably have nothing going on there. Let's start with the PC itself. The case is a Corsair Obsidian 750D Airflow Edition, and this thing is a monster. It screams powerful and elegant all at the same time, and the big glass panel really was one of the biggest selling points. Now the issues with the glass case? There are two. One is that everyone can see your terrible cable management job, and two is it gets dusty in there, and you can see it. I just cleaned out my case before filming the video, and you can still see there's a lot of dust in there. This will happen with every computer you have, but the glass window will show you what a great custodian you are. However, I always recommend a glass case because you can see your parts glowing, and if you have LEDs or glowing LED fans, the window will just make your build pop. Now when it comes to cleaning, the case makes it quite simple. Taking the side panel off and blowing some canned air inside is always my first step. Then I wipe down the glass and any surfaces that are dusty. Be sure the computer is off and you're grounded before you do this, and always use a microfiber cloth. Since I have the Airflow edition of this case, I can pull off the front panel and clean this off as well. The case breathes really well, and this dust filter should be cleaned every few weeks depending on how often your computer is on. The last thing I love about this when it comes to cleaning is this magnetic dust filter on top. It allows me to keep the case clean from flying cat hair that might be fluttering around, as well as the mesh is very strong and easy to remove if it's not something you want there. In all, the case is elegant, yet has a lot of character, and really the biggest reason that I got it was for upgradability. The case will pretty much hold anything I decide to throw at it, but let's move on. Inside my case I have LEDs, not just any LEDs, these are cable mod magnetic LEDs. This is a magnetic strip that you can take off and place anywhere in your case. You can adjust the brightness with this remote, and you can choose what kind of cycle you want to do if you want to do any at all. And if you want them to be a static color, you can always do that as well. The only issue with this is you have to point the remote directly at the sensor, which is a pain, and is really annoying if you fiddle with this thing a lot, so keep that in mind. However, if you have an Asus motherboard, you can adjust the colors with the Asus LED software. Speaking of motherboard, this is the weakest part of my build. It is the ASRock Extreme 4 Z77. It comes with two PCIe Express slots, one to house my graphics card and one for my wireless chip. Two RAM slots that support DDR3 1066 all the way up to DDR3 2800 and 32 gigabytes. I got this motherboard when I first built my PC, and I have yet to switch it out because so much would have to go with it, and I'm just not ready for that money-wise, and I'll get into what I'd like to upgrade my system to later. Next, let's talk about my processor. I have the i7-3770K quad-core running at 3.5 GHz with a turbo of 3.9. Really, it's a nice processor, and I've done it a disservice for years. It has been my very first processor since I built my PC, and I still have not gotten around to putting a water cooling system on the poor thing. I feel bad too, and I'll be getting around to that eventually. When it comes to RAM, I have the Kingston HyperX Fury 16GB DDR3 1600 memory, and it is fast. Kingston is pretty much known as the best in memory. I trust them, and they've not done me wrong yet. You know that video will come out if they do. And as most of you know, I have the GTX 980 Ti. I've had this card for a few months now and I love it. It's fast and powerful, and besides the initial hiccup that I talked about before, I have no issues with this. This is a 6GB card with a core clock speed of 1.22 GHz. My next card will come liquid cooled, and I do not think I'll ever buy a card unless it is liquid cooled. Not because I have heat problems now, but because cooler is always nicer, and I think it's worth a few extra dollars. Up next is my power supply. I have an EVGA 750 watt power supply. My entire build runs about 450 watts, so I have a lot of room to spare. This is the 80 Plus Gold Edition, and it's fully modular, which is a little more expensive, but mother of God, is it worth it. I cannot tell you how annoying non-modular power supplies are. The more options you have, the better. I have two hard drives. One is a 2TB hard drive running at 7200 RPM, and the other is a 4TB running at 5400 RPM. I use the 2TB for my games and programs, and the 4TB for my gameplay and other storage. Really, nothing too interesting about these. Moving on to the most useless part of my build. Anyone want to guess what it is? Anyone? Give up? I'll give you a hint. Yeah, PCs don't need this anymore, unfortunately. It's almost like having a floppy disk tray, and really, the only time I've ever used this thing was to install my BIOS, which you can do with a USB. Same thing with Windows OS. Yeah, you don't really need this part, but it's part of the build. I've actually thought once about upgrading to a Blu-ray player, but what's the point? I can stream any movie I want off the internet, I mean, watch it downstairs with my family. I mentioned I have a wireless chip. I wish I could plug my computer through Ethernet, but as of right now, I'm stuck with this, and the Wi-Fi goes out a lot. So anyway, this is the TP-Link Archer T9E. It's reliable and holds a very strong signal. I have a very good connection, and normally when I face internet issues, it isn't the adapter, it's the modem. Speaking of, my router is the Netgear Nighthawk AC2350. Super powerful, but we run through Charter, and they run copper instead of fiber as of right now, and as well, the Wi-Fi isn't as stable as I'd hope, and I've been meaning to contact them about that. It's not a super common issue, but it happens enough to be annoying. Up next, my monitors. For my primary monitor, I have my 4K Acer CB280HK 28-inch monitor, and next to it is my 1080p Samsung 23-inch monitor. Both are 60Hz, and I really like having two screens, but I'm thinking of upgrading eventually, but I'll get to that later. In the sliding lip of my desk, I have the Razer Chroma and my Rockcat Cone XTD mouse. The Razer Chroma is the silenced edition, which is still not very quiet, but I like it just the same. I've done some programming and modifying with it, and overall I love this keyboard. I have 4 different presets for my keys and how they react. 1 being wave, 2 being ripple, which is one of my favorites, 3 being a reactive effect where the keys light as I press them, and 4, which is what I like to call lightning. I love this one. As for my mouse, there are a lot of settings and features on this, but I like having a constant cycle of the rainbow. I guess I should talk about my desk. This is called the Bayside Furnishings Lana Computer Desk. This desk was $99 at Costco, and it's made of dark cherry wood and tinted glass. I love this desk, and I love the reflections I get in it when playing video games. The only downfalls to this thing is being glass, it doesn't like to stay clean, and because it's dark, it's really easy to see. But the desk is so pretty, and because it's glass, it's actually easy to clean, so really there's no issues. Also, for 99 bucks, it was very easy to assemble, and it's very strong, really sturdy. I've nicked it pretty hard and not a scratch to be seen, so I expect a lot from this thing. Really, what I look for in a desk is durability and a lip for my keyboard and mouse. I dislike having my keyboard and mouse on top of my desk, and I searched forever to find a desk with a lip big enough to house both. This is definitely the perfect one for me. I have 5 more peripherals to show you. One is my Afterglow Xbox 360 controller. I had the red edition for about a year, but gave it to my friend and bought the blue edition. Now warmer colors are very sharp, and when gaming this really bothered me, but the cooler colors like green and blue actually look really pretty, and even in the dark doesn't hurt my eyes. I'm sure everyone knows this about Afterglow, but the coolest thing about these controllers is that they're durable. It lasts a long time. It can be plugged into either an Xbox or a PC, and the absolute coolest thing is that it has 3 features for gaming. One is LED off, another is LED on, and the third is LED flash when vibrate. And this is my favorite one. Every time you're shot or you crash or you roll in a video game, basically anytime the controller vibrates, the controller glows. And I really love this. That kind of feedback is just really nice, and I've always been fond of this controller. Up next is my speakers. I got these speakers from Best Buy, and they're very nice. Bose has always been a pretty great brand, and these have very nice quality. They aren't supposed to have excellent bass, but from what I've heard, they're pretty fantastic. But if I decide I don't want to use speakers and I want to put on my headset, which is rare, I grab my Kingston HyperX Cloud 2 gaming headset. The audio quality on these are phenomenal. They're crisp, they're clear, and that's before you turn on Dolby 7.1. They're a USB headset, so they're easy to use, and they're very comfortable, very lightweight. I hate headphones and headsets and hats. I don't like putting things on my head, and I don't know if it's because of a motion sickness thing when it comes to things that cover my ears, but I just start to feel ill after a while, but these take a lot longer to do that to me, and it's definitely the way that they're designed. One of the last peripherals is my webcam, the Logitech C920. As far as webcams go, this is really nice. The drivers come with a lot of tweaks that you can use to improve the quality of the webcam. It films from 480p to 1080p, and really, that's all it does. The audio on it is terrible, which is why I have my Blue Yeti microphone. As you already know, this thing is amazing, and the biggest reason my videos are so high quality. This microphone has a lot of configuring, and the cool thing is that you don't have to do it through some program. All of the buttons are on the mic. You have your volume and your mute on the front, and then on the back you have your pattern settings, with which there are 4. Stereo, omnidirectional, cardioid, and bidirectional. And above that, you have your gain. Really love this thing, but the issue is, it's kind of stupid, but it's the only thing about my build that's keeping me from naming my setup Pure Black. I have my case, which I already named the Obsidian Giant, and it's black. I have my desk, which is black. My monitors, black. My speakers are black. My headset, black. My keyboard, my mouse, hell, even my chair is black, but the mic is silver. Again, small issue, but it kind of sucks. Especially since Amazon has the black edition. Am I really that particular that I need to switch microphones? It keeps me up at night. And last but not least, my chair. I got it rather recently and it's very comfortable. I think it's pleather, and really it's one of the best chairs that I personally ever had. And it was cheap, so I like that a lot. The only issue I have with this chair is that these little things pop out all the time. It sounds odd, but I'll wake up or come home to find one on the floor. Eventually I got sick of this and started gluing them in, but the next day, a different one would pop out. So I'm slowly gluing them into the chair. Other than that, great seat. Now I said that I wanted to talk about upgrading, and where I'd like to be in the future with my build. Realistically, we PC enthusiasts crave a PC that is future-proof. No matter what happens, I want to play all my games at the highest settings at 4K, but the thing is, it's unrealistic. We do need to realize that future-proof is impossible. Technology only grows, and with that, we should focus on builds that will last rather than on builds that will be the most powerful at that moment. My PC is far superior to most of my friends' PCs. It would last me so long if I never touched it. But there's also just something about upgrading it. The computer you build is growing up in a way, and it just feels so good to take care of it like this. So let's move on to my list. The first thing I want is a water cooling system. I'm looking at the Corsair Hydro H110i GT, but if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. The second thing I want is an SSD. I'm looking at Samsung's 1TB 850 Pro, but it's really expensive. I'm also looking at Kingston's 1TB, but again, super expensive. I definitely want a terabyte, and I know it's going to cost a lot, but I really feel as though an SSD is worth it. I'm just not sure what to buy, the SATA SSD or the PCIe SSD. I know the PCIe one is faster, but it's so much more expensive, and really, this is just a ton of money to spend on a terabyte chip. But I want it so bad. Next thing is a new monitor. I would like to get myself either a widescreen display, and then hang my 4K on the wall, or just get the Asus ROG Swift 144Hz G-Sync monitor. I would really like to experience higher frame rates, so I'm looking for a widescreen that could potentially do this, and if I can't find one, I'll use the Swift. Next thing I'd like to upgrade is my motherboard, because I'd like to make use of a better processor and DDR4. So I'm looking into the Asus ROG Maximus 7 Formula motherboard. It isn't too flashy, but the cool thing is that I have those cable mod LEDs in my case, and with an Asus motherboard, you can control the color of those LEDs through the Asus LED driver. For the new processor, I want to get an i7 6700K Skylake quad-core. This is a 4GHz processor and is Intel's way of normalizing DDR4, making it affordable for the average consumer. Also, I like i7 because hyper-threading. And to finish it up, the RAM I want is Corsair Vengeance 16GB Black Series DDR4 3200 memory. Should do the trick. Of course, this is a long-term thing and it keeps me thinking about tech and giving me a reason to continue doing my research. I love video gaming, I love technology, and PC gaming lets me do both, and I couldn't love it more. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on my build, and a quick thank you. My channel just got 1,000 subscribers. I know I'm still very small, but it's just not something I thought I would ever achieve. So thank you guys so much, and as always, I'll see you next time.